Welcome to the Wealth and Wellness All Women Rock podcast, hosted by me, Tamara, the CEO and founder of All Women Rock Global. Join me on this journey as we explore topics, conversations, and interviews related to wealth and wellness. Let's get started. Warning. This podcast episode can potentially cause you to reevaluate your surroundings. It contains informative content that may not be suitable for all adults that cannot look themselves in the mirror and be honest. Please continue to listen to this episode with caution. Hey girl, hey, welcome to the Wealth and Wellness podcast by All Women Rock. On today's episode, we are talking all things toxic. Yep. You heard it right. All things toxic. Let me first start off by saying today's episode was truly a challenge to record. And I mean that in more ways than one. For one, I was very transparent on this episode, shared some things that I typically wouldn't share. And I had to edit and change this episode, not to me feeling like I guess I was sharing too much, but I've had so many technical difficulties with getting this episode up and running, but it has been redone. It has been edited. And I truly hope that you guys are able to learn something from this episode, take something from it and apply it to your life. So let's go ahead and get started. I had to hear from my top 5 circle. Here is what I had to hear from my top 5 circle. Your decision will haunt you. Why not have your event catered to alcoholics? What's wrong with that? Why not have it in a bad neighborhood? What's wrong with that? It seemed like you were potentially demon possessed. Or another person within my circle, within 2 minutes of talking with them, the whole conversation goes negative or goes left. Do you guys have people like that in your life, or is it just me? Again, these were words that came out of the mouth of people that I considered my top 5 and I shared absolutely everything with. Let me share a story with you. Recently, I spread myself too thin. I was everything to everybody but nothing to myself. I could not tell anyone no, I can't do that, or no, I do not have the time. I didn't know how to say no to a task that was given to me. I wanted to do everything in my power to complete it. And then when you kind of mix that with toxic people around you, it equals to you being pushed to the limit. And that's what happened to me. When I got pushed to the edge physically and mentally, something happened between my daughter and I. Within this particular situation with both of us, I was hurt by something that happened between us. And guess what I started to do? I started bleeding on her. I'm not physically saying I was taking my blood and bleeding on her, but I allowed everything that was going on with me and being consumed with people that were very negative and toxic. I just let it all out on her, and that was not okay. Instead of expressing myself like an adult or how a mother and child conversation should go, I did the exact opposite. I went crazy because I was hurting. I was tired and I was exhausted. Now, let me say this. I take full responsibility for this situation, but this was my breaking point. If you know me, you know I love my girls wholeheartedly. And to see how I reacted in that particular situation was the absolute breaking point for me. I knew then I needed to stop. I needed to stand up for myself, and I had to say no. I had to also evaluate the people that were in my life, that I was allowing them access to so much information and allowing their toxic habits, their toxic words to infiltrate within my life. And I didn't realize the situation that happened with my daughter and I until a few days later. It was like I had a revelation, and I was like, girl, what were you thinking? So the situation went on, and maybe 3 or 4 days later, it didn't hit me until later. I felt horrible. I was surrounded by negative people that were putting things inside of me. I was supposed to uplift my daughter, and I poured all of that out on her. That's what I mean by bleeding on her. I realized I was trusting people with every part of my life, every single detail, and leaning on their opinions and not trusting myself. But I can say it has been a beneficial learning lesson, though. It's been a painful and helpful journey for me. I can honestly say that this is one of the most pivotal mental learning lessons in my life. Some things in life we have to learn the hard way. Like I said, I didn't realize it until a few days later. I would never place the entire blame on them or people in my life, but I knew that Tamara needed to heal mentally. So, as you can imagine, we are healing from being toxic or being surrounded by people that are toxic in our lives on today. We are healing today, sis. And I am here to let you know that it's okay. Some of us are walking around with so much bitterness because of what someone exposed you to. It might have been their toxic fumes that you didn't even ask for. This is what I was afraid for my daughter and I. I didn't want her to walk around with bitterness and hatred towards me because of what I said. But it's time for us to fumigate our lives, our relationships. We can't keep building business after business, starting and stopping, dealing with all this hurt, pain, and trauma in our lives. It doesn't work. This road will not be easy, but I know we can get there and we can get there together. It's okay to cry, sis, if you need to. I was always the one. I will not cry. I don't want anyone to see me emotional or weak. That was me until recently, to be honest with you. But I'm here to say, girl, cry. I cried for 7 days straight once I realized what I said and the damage that I had done. And I was once told crying is like silent prayers to God. So sis, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. Like I said, I always thought it was me showing a sign of me being weak. I wasn't being strong as a woman. But all of this out the door. It's okay to cry. So as we evaluate us being toxic or being exposed to toxic people in our lives, we're going to do a little evaluating. So as we get started, again, if you're not okay with hearing things about yourself or being honest with yourself about who you are or who you allow in your life, this episode is not for you. But if you are here and say, this is for me, I need to hear this. I know that I need to change. I need to change the people that I hang around. Stay tuned because I have a lot for you. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing that I want you to do, I want you to take a look in the mirror and I want you to look and see, are you the one bleeding? Are you bleeding? Do you have band-aids on wounds from toxic people in your life? Are you a product of your environment or just breathing in around you what was automatically put inside of you? What I mean by that is sometimes we don't even realize the people in our lives are toxic, and they could be family. And that's just all you've been exposed to. For some of us, this is all we know. I only know how to be angry. I only know how to be cursing all the time, being upset with the world, turn my nose up at women who are doing better than me, can easily start an argument, ready to throw shade, mad at the world, couldn't give a woman a compliment if it saved my life, or always needing the last word. Is that true, sis? I want you to think about that. I understand your frustration. I understand your hurt. But there has to be a stopping point when we look ourselves in the mirror and recognize these toxic fumes we have been inhaling or pushing out on other people. Hopefully it's not at a breaking point like mine, but I want you to take a long, hard look in the mirror. I want you to stand in the mirror and ask yourself, would you be friends with her? Let that marinate for a minute. Would you be friends with her? Do you like her? Do you trust her? If you can't make a decision without asking someone for advice, or what do you think I should do? I can't make a decision on my own. Then the answer is no. You don't trust her. I didn't trust myself. I wrote in my journal 3 times to quit something that I was doing. extra project I put on myself that I know I did not have the time or capability to fulfill. Put it in my journal 3 times. I even put it in there before I started it, and I didn't do it. I didn't have the courage to say no. I'm always the person, if I do something or I commit to doing something, I'm going to make sure I see it through. I even had a reminder in my phone to quit, but I still didn't do it. I had to be forced because I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't give up something that was never part of what God intended for me to do. This was not part of the process. This was not part of the journey that He put out for me. This was not even part of my goals, if we're going to be honest. But I allowed a toxic, demeaning person in my life to convince me to do something that I didn't have aligned. It wasn't part of my goals. I didn't trust Tamara. So, again, number 1, look yourself in the mirror. Are you struggling? Are you the toxic person in your life? Are you the negative person? Is that you? This brings me to number 2. Are there any toxic people in your life that needs to be removed or can only be consumed in limited doses? This will be family, because this can be family or friends. But with family, we can't remove them like we would want to. I know some of us can't. But when I say limited doses, what I mean by this is, you know how you go to the doctor and you get a prescription and the doctor says, hey, you can't consume too much of this particular medication. You can only do it in limited doses. We have to sometimes do some of our family members like that. I want you to think about this. Number 2, who are the top 5 people you communicate with on a daily basis? As I've always heard, we are the sum of the top 5 people we hang around. For those that say, I don't have 5 people in my life or 5 people, I want you to look in your phone. Who was the last 5 people you called or text? How often are you communicating? What do those conversations look like? Let me ask you this. How do you feel after 5 minutes of talking with them? That's another marinate moment. Think about it. After 5 minutes, are you saying, I knew I shouldn't have answered my phone? Or when you text them, you're saying, it's always something. What does the conversation look like when you share something important in your life with this person? A new business venture, something. What does that conversation look like? Do you regret mentioning it to this person? Do they always find the negative in the scenario and only discuss that part? I want you to truly take time today and look this over. What does my top 5 look like? What toxic chemicals am I taking in my body from conversations with them? Now, let me say this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having friends or family. I'm not saying cut the plug on all of your friends and family. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is consume the people that are toxic that you know, I can't quite cut this person off, especially if it's a family member. Sometimes friends, we have to cut them off, but I'm going to get into that more in detail a little bit later. But for family, we know that there's no way I can cut this person off. We can consume them at limited doses, and we can also be more aware of the things that we share with them. We often wonder why we are running in circles. Look at your top 5. If your entire top 5 is toxic, sis, it's time to let them go. Let go of the pride and network with other people. Find a community. All Women Rock is always accepting women with open arms. Every conversation will not always be great, especially when we're talking with different family members. And some of them do need to vent. Some of our friends do need to vent. Sometimes they just want to hear themselves talk, and that's okay. But if 90% of the time you're talking to them, it's always something hurtful, painful that happened to them. They're not listening. They're not receptive to the things that you're trying to guide them or talk to them about. Sometimes they don't need to vent. They need healing. Or is that true? Do you need healing in your life? Some of them, we have to love from a distance, or we have to consume them in limited doses. If you have that family member, you're like, okay, I can only consume you in limited doses. I had to learn a friend is only meant to be a friend. A mother is only meant to be a mother. A husband can sometimes only be your husband. An aunt can only be your aunt. Everybody was not put in our life to be our business consultant, our working partner, our investor. whatever that may be. So don't be upset when you talk to them about certain. I'm not going to say don't be upset, but I want you to think about this. When you're talking with them, sharing certain personal things or certain things within your business to certain family members, and you get upset with their reaction, maybe they're just meant to be a friend. Maybe this person is only meant to be a aunt, a cousin, whatever it may be. Sometimes we give people applications and roles in our lives that they didn't even apply for, myself included. They didn't sign up for that, sis. They were only meant to be a friend. I had to learn this for sharing certain things within my business. I had to look at my business as if it were my baby. And you can't expose your baby to everything, especially toxic fumes. If I was coming over your house and you recently had a baby and I brought someone over there that had COVID, you would be so upset. You would probably try to kill me. We have to look at our business the same way. Don't expose your baby to everything and everybody. Hold it close. For some of us that are new business owners, we need to take time to nurture our baby, be there for our baby, get to know our baby. Not as soon as I get a business idea, I got to share it with the world. Especially not posting it on Facebook as soon as you come up with your new business idea. Keep that to yourself, sis. Everything is not meant to be shared. If I brought you a salad with some rat poison on it, you would probably try to kill me. You wouldn't eat that because it will be harmful to your body. So why do you think it's okay to speak life into your business, then I'll stop, but I think you get the point. My mom always told me there will be friends you can take to the football game, some you can take to the baseball field, and maybe even some you can take to the basketball game. But everyone cannot go with you to every place. For one, we all don't like the same things. It's okay that in certain seasons in your life, friends will come, some will go. We have to be okay with that. We can't share everything with everybody. All of them won't be able to go to the top with you. So stop telling everybody everything and not trusting yourself. Number 3, it's time for you to get to know yourself better. It's time to reintroduce me to me. I know you're probably thinking, well, I'll say this. I will be talking in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th person, but I want you to understand the concept of what I'm trying to explain to you. It's time to reintroduce yourself to you. I want you to be friends with her. I want you to love her, to care for her, and I want you to start trusting her. So what does that look like? For me personally, it started with prayer. I've always prayed. I've always said my prayers in the morning and night. But I really had to, during this time, truly set aside time and get on my knees and talk to God about some things that I was struggling with mentally. I also had to get back in therapy. On one particular session with my therapist, he really showed me some things that I didn't think was me. As we were talking, he was asking me if I was a believer in God. I'm like, yes, of course I am. Do you believe Jesus died on the cross for your sins? Yes. Do you think you're perfect? No. Why would you say that? Do you forgive yourself? No, if I did, I probably wouldn't be here. Okay, let me ask you again, Tamara. Do you believe Jesus died on the cross for your sins? Do you believe God forgives you? Yes. So why can't you forgive yourself? I don't know. If God is above everything and you believe in him and you have been forgiven for your sins, why can't you forgive yourself? That was very eye-opening for me. You might have a different higher power in your life, but for me, my faith is in God, and that was eye-opening for me. It truly showed me that I had to learn to forgive Tamara. Another thing that has helped me to learn to get to know myself better is reading. Do you enjoy audiobooks? I know reading isn't for everyone. I like to do both personally. I like reading a little bit more, but reading and podcasting and also listening to different audiobooks. Also, yoga. Yoga helps me relax. Journaling. That's being able to be honest and open with yourself. And for me personally, I needed each and every one of them. For some, you might only need therapy. But do what works best for you and do not give up. If you decide I want to try therapy and you try it once, you might be nervous. For me, it took me a minute to get there because I wasn't open to sharing personal things with a total complete stranger. But I knew only way I was going to be able to heal was being able to be open. I had to talk. I had to let it go. I had to let it out. And I had to be okay with being vulnerable. I had to be okay with listening to someone telling me things that were going on in my life. Before I went in, I'll say this. I was like, you have to sit here and listen and take in what this person is saying. We can't always listen to give a reaction. Let me take this in. Let it marinate. Think about it. Do another session. If you decide the second session, I didn't really care for this person. I don't know. Find another therapist. Don't give up on the process. Don't give up. It's not easy, but I want you to be open. Give it a couple of tries or find someone else. But you cannot afford to give up on her. You can't afford to give up on you. Try something different. If you say therapy didn't work for me, reading does not necessarily work for me, try prayer, try yoga, try journaling. I also want you to write yourself a letter. What would you say to yourself if you were trying to get to know yourself better? Maybe you should apologize to her for not trusting her. Apologize for allowing other people to expose you to toxic chemicals that you didn't need, you didn't ask for. Apologize for giving up. Apologize for not trusting yourself. You will probably be talking to the third person, but it's okay. It is okay. I want you to write yourself a letter. We are healing and the process feels awkward, but it's worth it. It's needed. So I'm going to give you a quick recap. Number 1, look yourself in the mirror. Are you struggling with toxic people in your life, or are you the one that's being toxic? Or is it both? Number 2, are there people in your life that are negative, that need to be removed, or can only be consumed in limited doses? You say, hey, Tamara, I've came to the realization I got a few people that I need to just change the dose of how much I expose them to in my life. Number 3, it's time for you to get to know yourself better. I am learning to put myself first, and I want you to be able to do the same. My screensaver on my phone has always been my daughter's. I think I put myself on there maybe once or twice, but that was it. During this journey, I said, I want to see my pretty smile on my phone. I can't pour to my girls from an empty cup. I can't expect them to be happy when I'm hurt and I'm broken on the inside. I'm not saying you need to change your phone screensaver. I'm just giving you an example that helps me to remember to put Tamara first. What we are doing is a process of like fumigating. Now, I am not by any means comparing your life or your family or friends as pests, but we are just kind of duplicating the process when it comes to fumigating. Let me explain to you what fumigation looks like. The process when you're preparing for your house to be fumigated. Let me explain to you what fumigation looks like. We are preparing by taking a look in the mirror, evaluating our top 5 circle, and putting ourselves first. Fumigation process starts with the preparation phase. Now, when you are fumigating a home, the process goes like this. Preparing a home is a tall task that's going to take you at least a few hours to do. You might even want to set aside an entire day to ensure you're able to get your home ready so the fumigation process can play out. We're kind of doing the same thing. It's going to be a tall task that we're completing. It's a lot. It's going to take us a while. But we have to be willing to set aside the time to get this in process, so we can start healing, so we can be on a better journey for ourselves, to help us deal with some of these things that we're going through. Now, I'm not a doctor. I can't, prescribe you anything, but I just want to help you see things in a different light. I want you to stop stopping before you even start. Get yourself ready, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Now, a normal fumigate process starts off like this, but I want you to pay attention to the beginning keywords. Listen to the first words. Now, fumigation process starts off like this. You're unlocking doors, cabinets, desks, opening everything up. Next, you are removing food from refrigerators, freezers, cabinets, taking linens off the bed, out of the closets, shutting off the pilot lights from your water heater, oven, fireplace, taking houseplants out of your home, removing mulch, rocks, plants from at least 12 inches away from the exterior of your home. Sis, we are doing the same process with our lives. We're unlocking the doors. We're letting it all out. We are removing people out of our lives that no longer have a place. We're taking it off. We're taking everything off. We're shutting off. We're getting to know ourselves better. We're turning the TV off if we have to for an hour. We're going on a date with ourselves. We're taking house plants outside of our home. We don't want our plants. We don't want our family. We don't want our kids being exposed to these toxic fumes. We're removing things out. We're getting at least 12 inches away. We don't want it exposed. We don't want to be bleeding on anyone that doesn't deserve that blood. We're not putting Band-Aids on things that need to be taken care of. We are healing. We're not just covering it up. We are on a process of healing. After the fumigation process is over and you've moved back home, the process, they say, be aware, because pests and toxic problems may arise in the near future. So this is not to say negative people might not come back in your life, but you are now more aware of what it looks like and what you need to do in order to get yourself together, so you're not all over the place and being toxic to yourself and other people in your life. Now that we've identified how it's hurting us, and we are more aware of the warning signs and what to do, we're moving forward with healing. Our future is too bright to be given up. And I also want you to be aware of cross-contamination. And what I've learned with cross-contamination, this is the transfer of harmful bacteria from one person to another. We can't afford to be cross-contaminating our family. We have to get ourselves together. It costs us too much to get here. So we have to mentally, consistently be putting positive things in our lives, getting to know ourselves better, being able to trust ourselves. I want you to consistently go to therapy, journal, read, do whatever you need to do. Think about it this way. When we eat in order to survive, we eat healthy. Our mind needs the same type of treatment. We need the same nutrients for our mind. I want you to be aware of this. This will not be an overnight process. You might even experience some changes more quickly than others, but you cannot stop. I need you to keep going. Keep going. Try some of them. Try all of them. Anxiety, depression, suicide, mom guilt they don't have the final say so. It's time for us to start healing ourselves mentally. Getting rid of people in our lives that are causing us to give up and just feel bad. And then we start bleeding out on people that do not deserve it. When you get tired or frustrated or come to a point where it's like, I just can't take this, send me an email. I will always be here. I'll even list my email in the show notes. No question is too dumb. It is okay. I know what that feels like. And I want you to let you know I am here. I am here. And we're going to get through this together. As always, the links have been listed in the show notes. So I will see you guys next week, same time, same place. If this episode has helped you, motivate you in any type of way, the best way to show your support is by subscribing to the podcast and leaving us a comment. And share the episode. Find 2 friends and share it with them. Thank you so much for listening to the Wealth and Wellness Podcast. We will be talking about, on our next episode, we will be talking about the beginning of the year thing that every girl boss likes to do, vision boards. And I am going to share with you why I do not like them. So see you guys next week.